Wait, I was 100% stressed out. Give the intensity to the viewer, the same intensity the dancers feel. No one understood the struggle, so the struggle was like we were just trauma bonding on the team.
So I remember watching that comp and I was like, this guy is my competition.
I'm going to go home and be like, what can I reduce for my kit? There's like really good ways to automate all this stuff.
According to the pinned tweet on DDN Confessions, the devil works fast, but Ashwin Suresh works faster. He's one of the biggest videographers in the DDN scene, and before that, he was a dancer at UT Austin. In this episode, we talked about how he's preparing for a brand new season, and he walks me through his creative workflow as he's going into a comp. We then talk about why he thinks live streaming could be the future of this scene and what he's doing to build it up. And lastly, he tells me about what he's working on outside of all of this. To me, his brain is wired perfectly for dancing and videography. So if you're curious about how media and live streaming can benefit the things that you're passionate about, I think you're really gonna like this conversation. And bear with me, my mic's a little rough here, but I think the conversation more than makes up for it.
When I'm on set and there's a boom mic operator, like I'm always like, wow, like I can't believe there's a person dedicated to this. Like they're literally like on the monitor and they can like have to look at all the peaking. They have to like control all the, adjust all the levels of every single audio coming in. And then like they're like hearing it in. And like if they mess up anything, the shot's pretty much unusable.
Yeah.
Like,
it's you have to control so much. And
she literally was like looking at this thing and she's like, hey, is someone tapping their foot? And they were like, everybody like started looking at each other and they're like, oh no. I was like, it's crazy.
That's how they know.
Yeah.
All right, let's start.
Okay, what's up? How are we starting?
Hey, what's up? Ashwin, how you doing?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. How are you?
Welcome to Atlanta.
Yeah, no. How do you, I like Atlanta. I don't know.
People ask me that all the time. They're like, Shaki, how do you like Atlanta? And I'm like, it's a city.
It's a city.
Okay. But you were here for Tamasha, which happened last night.
Yeah.
How was that?
Tamasha?
First comp out of the way.
Yeah, I know. It was really smooth, honestly. Like
you were really, I don't know if you were really stressed, but you were a little stressed out yesterday, as expected.
Oh, wait. I was 100% stressed out. I think like one of the biggest reasons I was stressed out was because I always use the fall comp as like my first attempt to try out new things for the next season.
Yeah.
Because when spring starts, you have comps back to back, right? So the Masha is like the one time when I have a lot of time before and I have a lot of time after. So like I have more time to make graphics and all these new things for the live stream. Everything that I want to try new for the videos I do before. And then after I can like evaluate how that's done and like use it as like a way to like keep or like remove things from the way I do things to charge the next season. Because I can't make changes easily between comps. Well, but I can make changes.
There's no time once the spring season starts because it's every weekend is a different comp. And then you're traveling to and from.
Yeah.
And then in the midweek, well, maybe for me, not for you because you edit your videos like that. But then in the midweek, you're like editing videos. So you don't have any time to.
For sure. I think the way that I've wanted to set it up is like there's like really good ways to automate all this stuff. And I think that's like what I've been really sticking by, and which is what creates the speed at which I do everything that I do. I like kind of like put the responsibility on the board instead of myself. And then the way I do that is like I ask for assets like before I go to this.
Yeah.
Before I even go to the comp, so that way I have everything set up already. I basically like I've shown you my setup. I have everything edited out before I even enter the comp. And then like basically all I do is like I go to tech time, I figure out what the color correction for the stage is, and then once the comp is over, Premiere makes it super easy for me to just like sync up audios and just like wrap it all up like before I head out for the AP, you know?
Yeah, that's I think you convinced me to buy a MacBook this summer because literally doing Legends with you last year, I remember like I was still transferring files from my SSD from my SD card to my laptop. And I wasn't even going to edit on my laptop. That was just for like to have a backup copy of it. Right. I was going to come home and edit on my PC here. Yeah. You were done with videos and like exporting while you went to AP. Yeah. And I wasn't even done transferring.
And you literally come back and like most of them are done. And you're like, all right, now it's just about finding good internet. Yeah. It's like, it was almost the hardest part because like you're like literally in a hotel and like you have to use the hotel internet to upload sometimes. But I think that's like one thing I'm like trying to figure out how to like fix. So like, I think like, I don't know. What are we talking back to?
Well, okay. Let's go back to the week because you mentioned like the Masha just happened yesterday, which was a great comp, and I liked a lot of the things you did in the live stream. But I'm gonna go back to last year because, me coming from the raw scene, I probably had seen your comps, but I didn't make note of you until the Masha last year, even though you'd been in the scene for such a long time. But it's because I had just moved to Atlanta, so I wanted the Masha.
Oh, for sure.
And of course they went with you because you're known in the scene, more experienced. Yeah. Also, I think a better
in the fusion circuit, at least, but
definitely more known in the fusion circuit. And so I remember watching that comp, and I was like, this guy is my competition.
Oh no, not at all. I think one way to view it honestly is I think instead of seeing it as competition, if you see it as these people are your friends. You could really see it as oh, what can I get from them?
My mindset totally changed.
Yeah. No, I've actually had this very conversation with a lot of the videographers in the circuit in the past. But I think we always, once you treat it no, I'm not competing against you. It's that let me tell you how to make your videos faster. Let me show you how you can make graphics and make your live streams better. I know a few of my friends who dude, live streams are super stressful. I was it doesn't need to be. And we've had this conversation too.
Or people who are you see other comps and their live streams are it's just someone's phone streaming to Facebook.
Exactly.
And it's actually so easy to hit a baseline live stream.
And then exactly.
The harder part's when you start to integrate more and more, but a baseline clean live stream is not super hard to do, quite frankly.
I'd say right now I've gotten to a point where I've made my setup a little bit less stressful on myself. And that's on one end, I'm trying to make my setup more less stressful for me, but also more for the viewers. So finding that balance is the hardest. The more I give the viewers, the more it puts it on me. Yeah. So it's
the comments come after.
Yeah, you. It's the balance is really hard to have. But now I think I've gotten to a point where right now after Tamasha, one of my biggest lessons right now is I'm going to go home and be what can I reduce for my kit? I'm literally carrying a huge load on my back, just all my cameras, my ATEM, my tripod. It's just a huge setup. It doesn't need to be that big.
What are you bringing? What's your
gear set?
Your
my
EDC
kit
for comp. Your comp.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So my front row cam is the A7S3, and I use a wide angle lens for it. I recommend 16 to 35 Sony, but I use a Tamron kit. Okay. So I use a 17 to 28 in the front row. Just so I can get wide enough. And in the back row, I use a Tamron 28 to 75. So the next one on the kit, so that I can zoom in and zoom out of stage depending on how far it is. And then on the back row, I use an A7 III. Do not use an A7 III for live streams. Me and him have been talking about this, but it heats up. That camera is not made for live streaming.
Have you ever had it overheat during a live stream and cut?
Yeah. Oh, that has happened plenty of times. A lot of the times, people don't understand that the live stream is the live stream is being funky not because I'm actively doing something. It's just because something goes wrong. And a lot of the times when things went wrong last year, it was because my A7 III would shut off on me. And I found this out on my first 16 team comp, and I was that's when my camera was going through it. It was heating up, and then I had to find a solution. So I had to turn the heat alert thing off. And then I had to open up my battery cover so the heat can disperse. Wow, so that's how my live stream yesterday ran. It's because I've been on this janky setup, but it kind of works for now.
And, pointed
or that. And that's a thing that they actually do. There's this thing that you can attach to your camera, and it basically dissipates the heat. But I'm not trying to go that deep. I think honestly my A7 III deserves to be replaced, and it deserves to be used as a photography camera.
Are you looking at because the A7 III, does that do 4K 60 recording?
No, it does 4K 30.
It does 4K 30.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But it's a really good camera. I've done such good work with it. I definitely underplay it, but it's not a live streaming camera. The worlds of live streaming cameras and non-live streaming cameras is completely different. Yeah. And the FX3s and the FX30s are something that I'm definitely looking into. The Blackmagic was also something I'm looking into, but the file size was a really big thing for me.
Way too big.
Yeah. I also want to I don't know, so the kit, let me go back to my kit. Okay, so I have a tripod, then I have the ATEM, so I switch my shots. That's what gets the shots into the the system, and then you can switch between front row and back row. And then I have OBS on my laptop, and then what else? I said, my lenses, my cameras, my live stream switcher, my tripod. Oh, I have a slider for front row. I'm not a gimbal operator. That's one thing that saves a lot of space.
So I know some people, I work really closely with Trujay. He uses a gimbal. Why the slider? Why not the gimbal?
Okay, so I have two reasons actually. So one reason is because personally, I'm very attached to the look of a slider because you can do zooms. So one big difference you'll notice with gimbal and non-gimbal operation is you can still do zooms on gimbal. It's just harder. People use the focus puller to change the zoom, but you can only go left and right. and there's no like zooming in on formations when they get compact and like not. So I feel like the value in like the zooms for me is very high. But also another reason is because when I'm doing, a lot of times I have a heavy emphasis on live stream as a videographer who does front row work.
This is why I will never do front row.
Yeah,
Cops will be like, Shaq, do front
exactly.
row. Like,
but the reason I'm able to have control of that is because in a slider situation, I can literally use one arm to text and manage a situation while I'm filming. Like, I don't know if people have seen me filming actually, but a lot of times when I'm using my slider and I'll get a notification saying like, hey, the mic went out. And I'm like, oh shoot, like I'll be like something's about to happen.
I literally text you at the start of the show.
Exactly. And I'm like sliding it. And I'm like, okay, here's what you need to do. And I can text them on the left and like I can multitask easily with the slider. So the setup is just a lot more foolproof. Let's say if I were to go gimbal, I'm using both of my hands to operate the gimbal. So if I'm going left and right and I need to communicate something, it's only at the end of the performance. Right. So no problems can be solved when the performance is happening, which is the most pivotal part of a viewer's experience.
Yeah.
So like, if someone's tuned in, 700 viewers are tuned in to watch Texas to Laksh and it goes out, which happened to me at Mela at like halfway through, then like people are going to be pissed. But the way I was able to handle that super well was because I was literally like, oh, live stream went off. And I saw that and I was like, okay, let me like keep sliding. And I was like, turn the camera off, turn it back on. And then like, make sure that you hit record again.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, I got it. Live stream set up, went out for like a few minutes and then came back. So like that wouldn't have been possible if I did gimbal. So there's like obviously clear like
miss the rest of their performance.
Yeah, there's like clear advantages to me, but those two things like really do it for me.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So in that case, you would have lost part of the Lash's back row video. So how did you compensate that when you released videos at the end of the comp or like later on that week?
For sure. So I don't know if it's the Lash or Ari Sapa. I can fact check that, but basically when the back row goes out, what I do is I just attach a part of the front row video. The front row cam is always on. So that's like one priority I have. Like the front row camera always stays on. So if something happens to the back row camera where I'm not involved, the front row camera footage can replace that. And I could just be like, hey, this part of the video was like cut off on the back row, but wanted to make sure you see something. Because if I black it out, then it's just like bad. But I just like replace it with front row footage and I make up for it.
I did that last year at Musty where I was doing the live stream. But Shree was gonna edit the back rows.
Oh wow!
And I think there was one team where I didn't hit record until like halfway through the set. We were doing,
dude, that's a big thing, right?
So my attention was split. So I think ultimately, and I think I'd probably done that to myself in another comp last year too. So what I ended up doing was taking the HD version from the live stream. And just scaling it up.
Oh wait, I do that. I did that exact same thing
and just blended it in. But I know in that case in particular, with the whole camera going out, you lose both the live stream footage and the 4K footage. So that's why I was wondering how you compensated for that.
Yeah, I recently started doing this thing. So I have a back row operator that the board members give me, and they're usually just technically apt people. They're not like trained people.
Yeah.
The way I do it is like I set up a slideshow kind of in OBS, and then I just like tell them to scroll down, and then switching shots.
Smart, yeah.
Switching shots is just up to them, and they like usually have fun with it, honestly. Yeah. But the thing that what were we talking about before this? Like the Ari Sapa thing? Like, the HD.
I'm scaling HD to 4K.
So I have this procedure now where I like, just like, if you look at my text messages yesterday, like I don't know if I could show the camera, but the person that was operating my back row, I was just like, I have this thing where like I have to say recording every time I hit the record button. And they have to like my message every time they hit it. So like one, it keeps me in check because I'm very, very guilty of not hitting the record button and like just not noticing it because I zone out all the time. If you like know me really well, you know like I'm pretty spaced out for the most part, and like for me it's super important to stay tuned.
And then randomly like response for 30 seconds.
And I'll be like, hey, what did you say again? Like this is literally me. So like I don't know, I could show but basically
Can you send me a screenshot of that and I'll put it in the video?
It's like if you can see it, these are all just recording yesterday, and like it's cool. I'll send him a screenshot though.
It's a good text history to have with somebody.
It's just a good procedure because it's like this is how like it's like think about an actual set, right? In an actual set, people say like action. They're like mics, lights, cameras. Okay, action. It's the same thing here. Like
let's go through the checklist.
And make sure everything's on. Yeah, so that's where I like kind of adopted that behavior, like that thing from, and honestly, it's been helping because there has been situations where the back row operator forgets to hit the record button, and I just have to use the stream thing and then just like edit that.
And it happens. It's just like
and honestly, a lot of teams don't notice or seem to care. Yeah. So that's like one of the least problematic issues that one of the few issues that I can like deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the comment section's not getting as mad about
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. One of the things you have to really prioritize is there's always going to be criticism for live streamers, but you have to see which one is valid criticism and which one isn't, and like what's fixable and what's not, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't understand. A lot of viewers are like coming in at it from like, oh, I'm trying to watch my daughter, and they must have hired really good videographers. But there's really the funding that is in DDN for these videographers is not enough to basically justify like a sports equipment level live stream.
Pretty much all of my shows last year it just paid for like my camera and the audio interface. Like I pretty much broke even.
Yeah, by the end of the season.
After 1 year.
Yeah, that's literally how it goes. You literally have to like honestly take it on as a passion project and not like a money making thing. But the good thing is like I honestly love like development with like live stream equipment. So my live stream equipment has like evolved over time. Like I wasn't always like this. If you look at my Tamasha videos from last year, just back row, simple operation, it was actually out of focus. And like nobody, like someone told me and I was like, oh, it must just be the stream. I go to the hotel room after and I'm editing the backgrounds and I'm like,
oh
this is like fully out of focus. And I was like, sharpness 150. It's like, and I fixed whatever I could. If you look at it back, like if you compare the back rows from this year and last year, you'll like be able to tell the difference. It was very slight, but it like bothered me a lot. But things like that, yeah, they really get to me.
Okay, so let's focus now on Tamasha. So we're less than 24 hours from when the show ended. I don't know when podcast is going to come out. It's whenever I get around to editing it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But as of now, we're like still like 20 hours from show.
Yeah.
You have like videos done. Is it the front rows you have done?
The front rows are done. Yeah. And they're uploading right now there on Shocker's 500 upload speed internet. So
shout out to Fiverr.
Yeah, actually, no, I've never seen that internet. Yeah.
Ashwin Suresh Productions presented by AT&T Fiverr.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I should like put them on my sponsor list, honestly, at this point.
What did you bring new this year to Tamasha compared to last season? Because your graphics package was
a lot better.
Pretty nutty.
Yeah. So
and it was a lot of the stuff that we
used at Legends.
Tried to do at Legends. Some stuff we used at Legends. Some stuff we didn't get to use at Legends.
Exactly. And the things that we didn't get to use is exactly what I tried to do at this one. Yeah. So it's like things we've already discussed about. But one thing that I couldn't implement, but just because I was short on time, which was also why I was stressed before the event, was some of the things I want to introduce was like artist highlights. So like people who are in DDN that like made it big or like are trying to make it big outside of DDN, like making music or like being a dancer or choreographer or whatever. Like I want to highlight that during the intermission and the intro just to be like bring more validity to the circuit. But that's one thing I wanted to do. But the things that I did introduce, judges slides,
which look really cool.
Yeah, a better graphics package in general for the introduction and the intermission so that it looked more sporty. Transitions between scenes.
Transitions were really nice.
Yeah, transitions between scenes, and then obviously front row, back row switching, just like doing it in a better way, like keeping the front row camera on for awards, for example. Like before, it just used to be performance is the only thing that used to get the front row, back row treatment.
Yeah.
But now I can have it throughout. Yeah.
You can. I think when it comes for awards, it's like that front row is really nice. It'd be really nice to have like 2 cameras up there that you can control on the live stream.
Yeah.
You want to be able to see people's faces as they react to pretty much all their hard work coming into fruition. You don't really get that from the back row.
Yeah.
But I also get like back row needs precedence and priority in a way too, because if you're watching at home you can't see anything that's going on, so it's like it's tough to find that balance of like we want to get as close to the action as possible, but we also want to make sure you're not missing anything.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, no, exactly.
Hey, if you had like unlimited time, unlimited budget, like what changes are you making to your setup? Well, let's not say unlimited. I mean, if you brought in unlimited, you like a TV.
Let me just realistically say where I would like for it to be. Right now, I think it's good, but it's not good enough, and there's always room for improvement because like the level of like live streaming capability that I want to get is that front rows, back row videos don't even matter, and I think we both of us agree that videos, especially being the sports industry, like videos don't matter as much as a stream, and that's only the case right now because people don't get a good stream.
Yeah.
But the day people start getting a really good stream, they're gonna forget about the videos.
I think the reason that people love like especially back row video, the only reason people like back row video, like I remember Chaos last year, Srijay was I think the first person in the Raw scene to go back and forth between front row and back row during live.
He got backlash, right?
And he got a little bit of backlash for it because the people at home were like, we're watching this, we want to see like the formations and the moves as a whole and see the big picture. And so it's like the audience at the time is one coming from like a competitive perspective. But I think over time, the audience needs to change for the scene to continue to be more sustainable.
Yeah.
And we need to treat it more as like you're a spectator watching at home and this is an entertainment product or a sports product. Not that you're watching your competitors and you can break it down again. I get how that's how some people want to watch it, but that's not how
you're making the live stream for the general viewer, not the dancer.
Yeah.
And like if they want back row videos, then those are the reasons why we upload the back row videos.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't even be uploading back row videos.
That's something that this camera went out for a second. All right, whatever, it's back.
Okay.
But that's something that comes up in sports a lot too. Is like how do you make content for the hardcore viewer, but also for the casual viewer?
Yeah.
Because and I think right now it's like by adding more things to the live stream, we can further engage the casual viewer and make them more regular.
Yeah, honestly, it might just be like a benefit for me since I'm in the Fusion Circuit, but Fusion Circuit loves front row shots.
I think people have warmed up to front row.
Yeah, so switching between background and front row shots is not really like a controversial thing in Fusion as much as it is in Ross, because like Ross is all about the formations and like how everything comes together, like you were saying. But in Fusion, it's about like person leads.
You have a lot of ISOs, like individuals.
Exactly, and like there's stories in the spring, and like you want to highlight like that main people who are like leads and acting it out. So yeah, like they love front row cams in Fusion. So it's a perfect ripe opportunity to do all this like really cool live stream stuff if you wanted to. Like think about it like America's Got Talent or dance, like who's the best dancer, like the dance shows, like how they film, they like film the judges reacting, they film like the dance happening,
you see some crowd and stuff.
And I think like reactions, like eventually if I had to ever get it to a point where like this DN live stream scene gets bigger, I would want to be like the director like of like multiple shots. So like I see like front row cam, back row cam, audience cam, judge cam, and I'm like, hey, can we switch to shot 1? Can we switch to shot 2?
Yeah.
Can we switch to shot 3? And like just direct the actual live stream, and that'd be really sick. And obviously making it a lot more sporty. I know you have to talk about this, which there's like teams getting offended by like negative statistics and stuff, but it's really important to like make that public, because I think that's when the viewer gets really invested. You'd be surprised to know how many people love underdog teams.
Everyone loves an underdog story, right?
Everybody loves an underdog story. So if you present the facts as like, hey, like this team traditionally hasn't done well, but they're starting to do well, like that's like compliment. That's not a back.
People who typically get more upset when you point out like, oh, they're kind of struggling, but they have the potential to get back to the
actually. And like I think that's like exactly how you like. I just like that's just a good sign of good sportsmanship, because like it's not really. It might be about winning and losing to them, but at the end of the day, it's about like how much improvement you're making as a team. And I think that's like super important to mention like bad and good things about them. Like the audience really gets like locked in when there's a story, and like we have a lack of stories right now. We literally just present the dance as the performance. We don't present it as like for us at this year for the second year, and like last year they had a bad run or like something like that, like, and like this year like they could be so much better. And like I'm sure like if that was presented that way, like they could get offended. Also, this is just an example. Don't get me canceled for this. Like
I was gonna say Ross is gonna be pretty upset with you. Also, I just realized my light is totally not hitting me. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah.
But there is also some truth to feedback. Like this is where it goes back to what you were saying towards the beginning, where it's like there's comments out there and you have to sift through and figure out like what's a good comment and what's like a useless comment, and then what you can fix. Like I think a lot of the feedback I got last year, I had this visceral reaction of like, I'm trying to bring a change to how we do live streams and tell these different stories. But then like the next day I'd go back and I'd look at my graphics and I'd be like, okay, I can see actually there was probably a better way to phrase that. That's less, like maybe this came off as more aggressive than I wanted.
There's definitely more room for improvement on our end.
But my response wasn't that like, all right, we're going to stop this entirely. It's that like, all right, I got to put a little bit more thought into it now. And like have a fresh set of eyes look at this sometimes, or just find that middle balance of telling the story without unnecessarily putting a team in like a direct line of fire or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing I want to talk about with real quick. Yeah. So we didn't talk back to like if you had an unlimited budget, like what you want to
exactly. I would make it a sports live stream. Like people come into like tune into like ATL Tamasha to find out like what teams are what elo points. Imagine like a scoreboard in the beginning. Like this is where everybody stands, and like when the team pops up, like they need to win this place to like go to this
especially
ranking.
In the later end of the season, it's
it's intense.
Qualified for
like
Legends
give the intensity to the viewer, the same intensity the dancers feel. Right now, there's a disconnect because like if an outside viewer came to DDN and saw DDN dancers, they'd be like, why are these people like so invested for no reason? People actually ask me like, how did you spend like till 4 a.m. on dance practice? Like it just seems pretty pointless to me. Like, and now you don't even dance at all. Like, I'm like, no, I was super invested. You have to understand like the scoring and the way this circuit works.
Working so hard.
Yeah, you're working towards something
to represent yourself, and like
now the viewer only gets to see the dance part. They only see the result and they don't see like process. And like it's super important to get the viewer involved in the process. And that's when you get sports like football and basketball where people are like fully locked in and tuned in. And I just think that the room for potential in the circuit is huge, but we like are just starting to like bring that into the scene. So like it's got a long way to go. I think it's always had a long way to go.
There's history in the scene now. Like Legends has been going on for so long. You have BA for in the Ross side, like All Stars has been there for like 15-ish years or something like that. Bunger has been around forever, like 20 plus years in that scene. And all of these scenes have been around for like 20 years at this point. So it's like there's history now. So it's like, how do we tell that story over time and then keep these people engaged even as they leave dancing?
Yeah. Like how do we keep like dancers engaged? Oh, how do dancers
even former dancers, right? Like
100%.
I think like 3 years on from college, how do I give you a reason to come back and keep supporting your team?
Oh, for sure. I think that I think like alum networks they have a weaker connection with their team, possibly also because they don't get to connect with them on a live stream level.
Anyone who's on the mall anymore. So
exactly. And if you saw them on television every day, or like on like a live stream every day, or like every weekend,
and you knew a little bit of their story,
and like, or like a dancer got injured last week, and like they're like, and like they're literally running on like one less person. Like they came into this comp with like a disadvantage. Like, but like that obviously shouldn't affect the judges. Obviously, that's like a different thing. But like, this is the viewers can like be like, wow, like they like put that on with like if I told you Saya's stories the year that I was on the team, it would be crazy. Like our captain tore an ACL before a comp. We had like people like getting sick. That was like around COVID, and like we had to kick people out. Like for the weekend, bring people in for the weekend, just switch it constantly. But like no one understood the struggle. So the struggle was like we were just trauma bonding on the team. But if everybody else was like with us on the struggle, I feel like people would have like a lot more sympathy for some of these dance teams and the work that they put in. And then naturally they'll get more invested in wanting to watch these things.
It's super important. Yeah. For that, I think like then you can connect with the team as they're going out on stage and still say like, oh, wow, their captain tore their ACL last week, but here they are and they still put out such a great performance. Like that's perseverance. And then the other thing to me is setting expectations. Like, I think we're really, when you go to a competition, Tamasha had a pretty stacked lineup, but, you know, not every single comp is going to have, like, 6 Legends caliber teams, right? You're going to have maybe 3 teams fighting for first place, and that's the reality of it because the comp is so wide.
Yeah.
So you want to set those expectations. Like, if you go up there on stage and one team is Legends caliber and the other team isn't, but they're growing, or they're a new team, or something like that. You don't want to go out and say like, okay, this team is clearly at the same level as the team that came before them, because if you're a viewer watching at home and you don't know that about the team, you're going to watch them and be like, man, why were they so bad compared to the other team that came up? And then it's less enjoyable of an experience. But if you preface it with saying they're building, they're growing, and then it's like a positive arc on it. Like, okay, this team didn't do as well on stage, but it's not because, you know, the scene is terrible. It's just because, not to say that team is terrible either, but it's just because this team is like in a building phase as well. Like 2 different targets for what the expectations are. And so as a viewer, you have a different expectation for what you intend to watch. Yeah.
Like tying back to that, right? There's a lot of people trying to make a DDN documentary because they're trying to get people invested in the story. Yeah. And the problem with that is like with sports, we want to see Steph Curry's documentary. We want to see LeBron James' documentary. It's because we've seen the sport so much. We're like, we like want to know like what could be going in their lives. The problem with the DDN documentary thing is that like, I feel like people haven't gotten invested into the actual dancing scene yet. The people who watch it will be the people who are involved. And like, I feel like that's like one thing that like, we're doing, it's like happening in reverse, but like this could play hand in hand if in the next few years, like DDN live streaming and all what we do like grow with the documentaries being made, and like that would be like a net positive, like both things growing together type thing. So this is the perfect ripe opportunity to even make live streams better, like better than ever before. So if your live streams are good right now, you're creating the main story for which the documentaries are going to be like giving you the side stories for.
Yeah.
So like I just think it's a perfect time to like
and
have good live streams.
You can tell some of those stories also instant. There's so much dead space on a live stream. Like
there's so much dead space.
You have this 20 minutes of intermission, but especially like from the last performance to placings, you have like 45 an hour of just nothing.
Yeah.
And that's so much time that you can fill with content to like keep people engaged.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or better tell the stories also.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see what we come up with for this year.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing that I want to touch on, because this is a part of the process, something that you've done that I don't do and probably won't ever do just because it doesn't line up with my skill set. So it's super fascinating. What was the intro video you made last year, and then you did the breakdown for it in the summer?
For sure. So the intro video that I did last year was UTD Laksh's video, and then I did the BTS for their video.
I loved when you put the BTS out, because going from empty page to, okay, here's this fully edited, fully directed video, and then everything
all the way from Google Doc to Premiere Pro project, and like,
so walk me through like that process.
Oh yeah, the process of the behind the scenes, or like the making the behind the scenes?
Making the video itself.
Oh, okay, yeah. So making the Laksh
intro video itself.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Not the process of making the behind the scenes video.
No, because that was a whole process too. Let me I could go on and on about like how hard it is for me to know like how much, when am I explaining too much, when am I explaining too less, right? But yeah, let's go back to the intro video. I worked with Laksh. I was in the second year working with Laksh. They're really good with like script writing and just getting a good story down. We started with an empty Google Doc. We were just in a meeting. We're like, hey, we want to do the giver as our theme, and like, here's what we want to do. And we were immediately like, like, how are we even going to make this happen? Like, how are we going to make this work? How do we make this look like, how do I give it the touch that I want to? Because like a lot of the reasons why people like the things that I watch is because I add visual effects to the things that I do.
Yeah.
If I was just doing purely cinematic stuff, yes, I think I would want to do that too. But like, it's not something that like people see and they go like, whoa, how did he do that? Like, how did he like make that happen? So like for this one, we had to think about situations where we could like had the hologram pop up and like the sound like ethereal, like, you know, and like, is it ethereal or ethereal? Ethereal, yeah.
Ethereum.
Yeah, like, yeah. and like obviously give it the black and white effect, and how do I make the graphics look like really good, and like how do I not make it too much, and how do I just like find the right balance? But they basically gave me a script, and I was like, usually how it works is like I choose my song first. So I went straight to the Giver album, chose a soundtrack, and I was like, what can I envision to this thing? And then I was like, matching the script to it, I'll just spoke it out on a voice memo. I added over the music, and I'm like, where can I add effects? Where can I add this stuff? Because like another thing I have to think about is I constantly have to think about making it under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, because that's a time limit thing for me. So you have to be really good at telling stories in a very short period of time, which is why I love making commercials too. It's like I'm really good at short form content. That's just like I guess how I work. I think I have a very short attention span, so I know what gets people's attentions really in a short attention span.
You have to hook people like that.
Exactly. And what would get me hooked, and that's how I think, and I'm like, this is how I'm going to do it. So that's why I feel like for me, like short form content is like a really, really, really big thing for me. But yeah, tying back to the intro video, yeah, we got the script done, and then we added the music. I added the script on top of it, and then I sent it to them, and they're like,
Who wrote the script? Was that like a collab?
Yeah, Rishika, Pragna, Sammy, and they're like captains of Laksh.
And they came to you with the script of like, so they already kind of had mapped out like what they wanted it
exactly
to look like.
Yeah, they had it mapped out, and then I just went in and like storyboarded it. And storyboarding is this process where you draw images or you attach images to like certain parts of the script to show them like, this is what the visual in my head is looking like for this part of the script. And that's actually one of my favorite processes because I love drawing. Yeah. So if I show you some of my old storyboards, I'll see if I can find pictures, but it's just like people and like how they look, how they face.
The storyboard part of it, I think, is like the most important one, and the part that people a lot of times skip, a part that I
100%. Some people just go and film.
It makes sense in my head, but it's like, okay, how do I like articulate that to the people who want this so that what they have in their head and what I have in my head, and see if it matches.
Exactly. And that's the best part where you can do it because, and sometimes it doesn't have to be a paper storyboard that already like impresses people. They're like, oh, I like get what you're saying now. But I do like visual storyboards, which is like video storyboards, which is like you film the actual shot with your iPhone and like the angles that you want to get it in, like how you want it to work. And like I did that for Jumanji's intro video, like the year I was on Saya. But I just like did a video storyboard where I like basically filmed the shots as they look in my head, and then I just put it on a Premiere profile, and I'm like, this is what I want it to be. And they're like, this looks like weird. Like, are you sure this is how it's gonna work? And I was like, no, trust me. When we actually film it, when we actually film it, it'll be like a lot better because I shot this with my iPhone, and like the acting's like not there, you know, and it worked out.
How many comps are you doing in the spring? Do you have your calendar like lined up yet?
Yeah, it's gonna be every weekend from the end of January to the beginning of March. So like just that, it's a month and a half. Yeah.
In a row?
Yeah, there. And then like it's one small spurt of like comps, but like I think that's so much better than like taking random gigs through the season, through the year, because I want to focus on music videos. So
for the rest
after that,
all of this time.
Exactly. So it's like a short period of high effort and then like long periods of time to work on what you're passionate about.
I know we were gonna end, but I actually get a little nervous about that because like last year when comp season ended or started, like I took basically 6 weeks off, and then up to Legends I didn't do anything in between really either. So I probably took like 2 months off of like other projects that I would have been working on otherwise, and then I found it really hard for me to like go back and get back in the flow of that. So what else are you working on, and how are you gonna balance?
So right now I've dropped a lot of my gigs. So that's like weddings, lineup videos, hype videos, mixes, everything that I do on the side, graphic work, logo design, everything, website work, like all of it's dropped. I realized like I was like stretching myself too thin. Even my food vlog, like stopped that completely. Yeah, actually, I still take. Yeah, you made it yesterday. Yeah, I still do pictures, but not videos anymore. It's just harder. Yeah. But all that's stripped down, and now I'm focusing on getting 3 music videos out by July. But that also is like a goal, not a thing that's happening for sure. But music videos was what my focus is on because that's what I want to do long term.
Yeah.
And then obviously comps are just like a very good way of accommodating me financially, and also like just also improving my like passion from the side, because like this live stream thing is a huge viewer base where I can promote the work that I do on the side through this thing.
And promote other people's
so it's like a side hustle that's almost an investment for my future work.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking right now.
All right, that's a lot of fun. Good luck.
Dude. Yeah, thanks, bro. Thanks for having me on this podcast. Hope it goes well.
Thanks for coming down. It finally happened. Only took us 2 days.
Yeah, next time it'll be. Hopefully we can get more questions in.
Hopefully it'll be a smoother process.
Yeah,
all right, let's end it there.
All
Boom.
Right. Yeah.